All right, YouTube and Auburn fan base. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking about Auburn sports and Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger War Eagle. Now, Auburn, as a sports program, let's take away the whole football school, basketball school thing. Over the last few weeks have really enjoyed a epic amount of success on pretty much every level of sports. I mean, you talk about basketball, gymnastics. The women's basketball team just upset Tennessee, the number 4 team in the country. So all is well currently with the athletics that are taking place at Auburn at the moment. Now, there was a video that I posted a few days ago that was talking about Bryan Harsin, head football coach at Auburn, on the proverbial hot seat. Now, I don't think necessarily that he's on the hot seat. I think first year, 6-7, although a little very disappointing. I mean, I just don't think you can put the guy on the hot seat at the onset. However, and this is a very small however, when there's so much success going on in your inner circle at the university, they're beating the rivals, they're winning the big games, they're winning the Big 12 SEC challenge. I thought that was a huge win for Auburn, and especially for Auburn to win that basketball game in such a fashion that they were able to do so, said a lot about where the Auburn basketball program is. So much so, it came at the heels of an epic extension for Bruce Pearl. Auburn wants to lock down Bruce Pearl for at least the next 8 years with a whole lot of money on the table. Auburn Arena is about as great as they come as far as facilities for a college basketball team in America. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. Now, you can't tell me that doesn't inadvertently put the main source of income, the main source of interest in sports at Auburn on the spot, the Auburn football team. Auburn has experienced a lot of attrition over the last few weeks. Now, for those of you who don't know what attrition is, that means folks that basically leave the program. You have your you have your offensive and defensive coordinators who have, one got fired, one stepped down saying that he wants to pursue some other stuff, but then a couple of days, maybe a week later, says that he's going to take the job at Oklahoma State, Big 12 school. A lot of folks think that's a lateral move, but I mean, Oklahoma State actually almost won the Big 12 championship this year, so I don't know how lateral of a move that is. And then there's this big uproar among the fan base when you have these players on the team that did not see any playing time, probably won't see any playing time, that are hitting the transfer portal. Oh man, it's just doom and gloom. It's terrible down on the plains as far as football goes. I will say this. I have a lot of respect for all of my subscribers, but I can't hold this in anymore. True Auburn champion, which is a great, this is actually to kind of sort of call you out. This is to call you out. When Auburn was in a losing stretch at any point of the season, you came roaring in about how this thing was falling apart. I will say, because I didn't want to type all of this, I will say during that stretch, where Auburn had the opportunity or had the situation set up, if they would have won out, would have represented in the SEC championship. Texas A&M lost. You were kind of quiet about it, but then those other losses, you came roaring. But when Auburn beat Ole Miss and Arkansas, two ranked teams, beat them by double digits, I was actually looking for you, but I couldn't find you. Now, I want you to continue to be a subscriber on this channel because I really love your input. But I did have to mention, because you come on and you really come on strong, but you were real quiet during that stretch where Auburn had that opportunity, where the stage was set, they went out and go to the SEC championship, possibly be a 2-loss team in the college football playoff. Of course, we know that didn't happen, but that's a lot of the stuff that Auburn fans do. You know, I'm just not sure where this insatiable desire for Bryan Harsin to fail comes about. I just don't see, I don't understand it. Because, again, let's just say Bryan Harsin does fail. Does just tank it in the next season. And these contracts are, you got to pay them out. So that means you have consecutive coaches that are going to be being paid, continually being paid buyouts for not doing anything. Auburn fans, I'm going to tell you like this, at least from a financial standpoint, you need Bryan Harsin to succeed. Yes, there is the money on the table to buy him out, to buy everybody out. There's a lot of money in the Auburn program, more so than people may want to believe. But this is not a situation to where we need to put in the universe the demise of Bryan Harsin. I'm not windmilling for him. I'm not sunshine pumping for him. Whether I want him to succeed or fail, it's really not up to me. No more than me succeeding in my life is up to Bryan Harsin. But I think this is who you got. This is your head coach. And I understand that a 6-7 season is obviously not the ideal situation. But I'd rather have it the first year than to have a 13-0 national championship year, and then we're tracing back years later hoping that we get to that point. Come on, guys, let's be honest. You remember Terry Bowden? First year goes goes undefeated. Only reason why he was not able to push the envelope for a national championship was because Auburn was on probation. He had a successful year and kind of, and this leads me to this. Over the past few years, the successful coaches at Auburn outside of Tommy Tuberville, they sprint it and then they drift. They sprint you to national relevance, get you all hyped up, and then they drift. And during that drift process, that's where all the anger and resentment and what the F's come to play. Now, not to excuse any of the behavior, because it is what it is. I mean, it's 6-7 season. There's no way to sugarcoat a sunshine pump a 6-7 season. At this point, though, with Bryan Harsin, it's an honest situation, though. You either go up or out. At least you got that on the table. At least you're not going into a situation where, let's say, all the cards played in his favor. He goes to the college football playoff, sneaks into the national championship game, and comes within 10 seconds away from winning a national championship. At least you don't have to go through the whole spring like, hey, with the whole slogan, 10 seconds away. We're going to get it this time. How close did Gus Malzahn come after that? Not even close. Average probably about 4 losses per year after that situation in 2013 where his team appeared in the national championship game. All this dumpster fire talk, I get it. I definitely get it. I understand the concern. But when are we going to look at the idea that Bryan Harsin is doing pretty well on the recruiting trail? He's getting recruits that, especially in-state, that we haven't been able to get in a little bit. And there will be some detractors out there that will say otherwise. However, I just wanted to do this part 2 video on, is Bryan Harsin on the hot seat? Because with everything else that's going on and all the success that's going on at Auburn, gymnastics, hockey, basketball, they're doing well, very well. Where does Auburn football fit into all of this? And can Bryan Harsin redeem himself from a 6-7 year with a new staff? Derek Mason not there anymore. Mike Bobo not there anymore. Fired the wide receiver coach in the middle of the season. To some, especially, down in the South, a lot of times we're not accustomed to change. And if we see changes happening like this, we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? But I don't think that's the approach we need to take. Do I foresee Bryan Harsin being ultimately successful at Auburn? To be fair, only time will tell. He's up against a lot. He has to compete against 3 schools that historically can and will recruit better than him every year. LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. They are going to recruit better than him every year, no matter what. Texas A&M is pushing the envelope as well. All the teams in the SEC West Division recruit at a high level. I mean, it's absolutely insane when you can be top 10 in your conference, but top 10 in the country recruiting, but 6 or 7 in your conference. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. This is my time here, guys. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War.